I think for everyone in music, it's this outdated thing of like, you can't change who you are, you can't dye your hair and call it a new era, which is exactly what I was doing. So, I mean, tattooing, as soon as I turned 18, it was one of the things that I was going to do. My dad...
How many do you have?
I don't know, maybe like 30 now.
30?
Yeah, and I'm 21, so I'm like, we've done well.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this whilst I had you here. What do your parents think of Moist? What did they say? You can ask any up-and-coming musician what their goal is, and I think 90% of them will talk about getting signed to a record label, because that's just the industry that we're in. And I spoke about this at length with Lozeak, and she talked about the journey of growth that she went on from being 16, getting signed to a record label when she was 18, to being completely independent by the age of 21. And I had so much fun talking to her, and we covered a variety of topics, including her 30 tattoos in 3 years. This was a great chat, and I was so excited to have her on Upgrade Sounds. What is your earliest memory when it comes to music?
It's kind of to do with music, but my earliest memory was, I don't know how old I was, maybe like 4 or 5, being pushed around in a shopping trolley in Tesco and screaming out Rehab by Amy Winehouse. And my mum's like, you're not allowed to say that. You can't say those lyrics. But, rebel child, I was. But yeah, probably that.
So how do we paint a picture for me. How do we get from rebel child screaming the lyrics at Amy Winehouse's Rehab in a shopping trolley in Tesco to Lozeak? How do we get here?
I mean, I just always did music. I always sung. And
so take me through that journey.
I think growing up, my parents are so open and so chill. They're like old school ravers, and they love music. So it was never not an option for me. They were always like, you can do music. Like, no matter how much money we have or where we live, you can do music as a job. It was never a thing they said I couldn't do. So I sung in school. I was in choirs. Me and my sister were like a year apart. So we used to always be in the same kind of classes and like in choirs. And she would be mouthing it, lip syncing, not actually singing. And I'd be belting it, stood at the front. So it was always a thing where I wanted to be like front and center of things. I would audition for everything. And yeah, I kind of just always wanted to be a singer, and it started with that. And then writing wise, I think I started pretty young as well. I listened to music all the time. I was obsessed with Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, all of the icons. And I used to just write songs in my room, played piano. And then it got to college, where I also did music for GCSE, and then I did production at college. So just chose music forever. I never had a plan B or a different option. So yeah.
I want to talk about that plan B, or not having a plan B in a second. But so you said your parents were always pretty open when it comes to, like, was that just bringing you up, or was it just music in general?
Yeah, both. Like, so open with everything. Like, they're just...
What does that look like?
I feel like it looks like a happy family, really. I had such a good childhood, and it's kind of sad because I moved out when I was like 16.
Really?
Yeah, but because they were so open, and I feel like they almost did reverse parenting. Like, they kind of let me and my sister run free, run wild, do whatever we wanted to do. And me and my sister's gay, and she came out when she was like, I think 12 or something, really super young. So like, they were just open about everything, and yeah, it was nice.
That's so cool. I mean, the parallels, obviously I grew up in a very disciplinarian sort of household, so it's crazy to hear, that side of things. And having no plan B, I guess that's kind of like, there's something I've seen that comes up about you over and over again. So this is really what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just have never wanted to do anything else. And I think once you get in that mindset of like, I'm only going to do this, it's almost like everything else in your life it just comes like second nature to you. It's just like, I'm just going to do that, and it's the only thing you can focus on, so it's going to work out eventually.
And what was the first moment that felt like, okay, this is starting to work out?
I I think when my first manager found me, I was 16 and I was in college doing production, and I was like, I didn't like love the production side of things, so
Sure.
I was finding it a bit difficult, and I was posting online. This was like when TikTok was Musically, so it was like just before like lockdown, just before TikTok was a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I started posting videos, and I think one of them got like 20 million views, and I was like, what? And then I was like, hang on a sec, this could be a thing. And then I got people message me, and the manager that I first went with came to Norwich to meet my family, and then that was kind of it. So definitely then, yeah.
And what was your scene like growing up in Norwich? Were you active in it? Was it something you kind of like? I know you were in music, but like, was it something you shied away from, or just dived straight into?
I mean, Norwich is not a very crazy place. Not really much happens, and I'm from a small village called Pouring Land, and it sounds boring, literally called Pouring Land. There was stuff going on, but I never really was like, I wasn't playing shows really like in Norwich ever. I was more. It was kind of weird for me. I was always online. Like, I was more online. People would say shit at school like, "Oh, she's doing singing online," blah blah blah. But yeah, I was never really in a music scene there. I don't think I really got the chance to because I was so young when I left.
Let's talk about TikTok then.
Yeah.
You know, very polarizing app.
Yeah.
Something. Is it fair to say that you have to be thankful for?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know, because a lot of, I guess, singers or musicians in your generation, I see this time and time again. They mope around saying, I hate TikTok, I don't like it. You know, what's your experience been like on the app? How do you feel about it?
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's supposed to be a thing where we like rebel against it, and I did have moments like that, like in my career. Like when
Even
I
in
was
spite of going viral.
Yeah, 100%. Like when I was with a label, it was kind of like, you have to do this, and it was a thing that I didn't want to do because I was being told to do it. But when it's just me, like it is now, and like it was before I was signed and everything, there's so much creative freedom. Like, it's a platform for you to do whatever you want and say whatever you want and be whoever you want. I think people have put rules in place that don't need to be there, and that artists shouldn't have to follow.
What type of rules?
Like, sit in the car with your dad and play him your song and get him to react. And,
Oh,
all
like those types of TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's just, I feel like artists are told to use the platform in a specific way, and it's like, you should only post about music, or you should only blah, blah, blah. And I think so many people get caught up in that, but it's just a platform to have fun on. And like, I think if you're being yourself, people are gonna see through it if you're not being yourself. And I think it's nice for there to be a platform where there's kind of no limits, and it's like, do whatever you want on it. Yeah.
So, you know, I guess one of the main things about TikTok for me, at least, is discovery and connections with people that I'd probably never ever get the opportunity to connect with. Would you say that's one of the benefits that you've kind of experienced yourself?
Yeah, 100%. I think all my friends now are from online, and like I live with two people that I met through TikTok.
No way.
Yeah. So it's like, it sounds so cringe, but it is like my whole life in a weird way. Like, I've met everyone off there, and it's like, obviously we don't even really remember that now. We're like, oh, we've been friends for 3 years. It's not like an online friendship, but it's so weird how it brings people together, and creatives. And the guys I live with, one of them's a music artist as well, but he just started off on TikTok, and one of them's a tattoo artist who started off on TikTok. So it's like, yeah, it's give all the credit to TikTok. I mean.
Sure. I mean, you spoke about obviously living with a tattoo artist and a musician. I think it was recently. I was supposed to come down to this, and I actually didn't. You had a tattoo event, didn't you?
Yeah. You should have got tatted up.
Tell me about that, because that's something I like about, I guess, kind of the world building that you're doing at the moment. You're involving different mediums of art with your music.
Yeah. I mean, tattooing, as soon as I turned 18, it was one of the things I was going to do. My dad...
How many do you have?
I don't know. Maybe like 30 now.
30?
Yeah. And I'm 21, so I'm like, we've done well. But my dad is like covered. He's got like the back of his head done, and like, it's just like a haircut in our family.
Wow.
So it was always a thing I was going to do. And then when I realised... After like the first few, I kind of got over the think of it kind of being art. It was more just like, this is so fun and I can put whatever I want on my body. And then I was like, I met some really cool people through kind of the tattooing space. And there was a shop called Rose of Mercy. It's not the thing anymore, I don't think. But I used to go there a lot, and loads of cool people go there. Like, Brooke Candy, she did like a day there where she like guest spot and everything. And it was just a cool place to be, kind of like place to hang out, but also like place to meet people. So then there's a girl called Oceane who I did the recent event with, and she's really fun and really cool. And we started doing tattoos for kind of like promotion online. And then she was like, we should do an event with fans. And then we did it and it worked. And then we did it again and it worked again. And it was, it's really fun. And it's a nice way to connect with fans, especially when some of them are like 18 getting their first tattoos. And you're like, oh my God, this is a responsibility. But no, it's really cute. And it's always a really fun day whenever we do it. But you should come along to the next one.
I'll make sure I will, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. It's good.
So you mentioned it earlier. I do want to talk about, joining a label and that whole experience for you at some point, because I definitely think at this point, having been in that situation, you can maybe shed some light on A, what it's like, and B, there may be other young musicians that could potentially be either, aspiring or wondering what it's like to be involved with a major label. We could talk about this as little or as much as you like, but I'm just curious to know your experience.
Yeah. My experience, it was a weird one for me. I mean, in every artist's mind, I feel like a record deal is the ultimate goal, is like the aim. So I kind of grew up thinking that. So when it came around, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is the thing that is going to all happen, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm going to have so much creative freedom. But for me, weirdly, it was kind of the opposite. I mean, it taught me a lot. And like, I feel like now I've been to label school and like, I know things that I wouldn't have never have known if I didn't sign. So I'm glad that it all happened. And I had a good team, and like, it wasn't like I had a terrible experience, but it just completely drained all the artistry out of me, which I never thought would happen.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I was also so young. I mean, I was 16 when they so an A&R from my label found me, who was a manager, and he kind of developed me for a couple years. And then when I was 18, I was like, okay, it's time to sign. It was kind of that was it. And I was like, okay. And my parents were like, okay. Like, they read through obviously the contract and everything. And it was a nice long process, so I had time to think about everything. Like, and it was really lucky that I had that time to develop as a person too. But I was still 18 and hadn't really figured out what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. Even if I did have all of these resources around me and these people that were there to help, it didn't ever really feel like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because when I signed, I was like making the music that I was making, and it was more in that like alt emo space, as you know. And it wasn't like that wasn't me, because obviously I was making the music, and I loved kind of being in that space in my life, and I was young and doing that, and it was the music I was making. And I think because I was there with red hair, tattoos, it was almost like, okay, let's really, really push this narrative. Like,
sure.
Like, grew up on rock music and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not true.
Right.
Which is kind of where I found it difficult working with a team of people at the label, because it's kind of like they want to put you in a box and stick with it. And it's like, I never knew that like, music has no rules, and it shouldn't have rules. You should be able to change who you are as a person over and over again, and have different eras, and make the music you want to make depending on where you are in life. And I didn't feel like I could do that. It was kind of like, you've done this, now you've got to stick with it. I think that's where the main issue was for me, being with the label.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that kind of brings us to the next point. How do you feel about that music looking back on it, because that's how I discovered you, was, gut feeling and, that era of you. So how do you look back on that?
I can't hate it. Like, I think people think that I would be, people are like, oh, do you still like your old music? I'm like, yeah, of course. It was like a major development, like, stage in my life for me. And that first kind of mixtape was who I was as a person at that time, and it was what I wanted to write about. And I think also like my main core fan group still really resonate with that music, even if I'm moving on to different stuff now. When they still show up to things like events, it's something that we still talk about. I mean, I still have the tattoos, like it's not gonna go away.
Yeah.
No, it was a great part of who I like my life and who I was as an artist, and I don't hate the music. I still love it.
Will you still play that music?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I do shows, I'm like learning how to DJ and like doing fun things like that. So I feel like we can do a little remix of the emo era. But I still love that music, and I still love the people I made it with and stuff. So yeah.
And I want to talk about the new era. I've had a pretty extensive listen through what you're doing, and I love the new direction. I think it's great. When was the turning point? When did you decide, okay, you know, I've moved past this, you know, we've exited this, you know, agreement with the label. This is what I want to do. When does that start to happen?
So when I left the label, when we started working together, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was still published, and I also left my management. So I was like, also being young and having an advance, I was like, I'm just going to have fun, and which is so dumb. And I feel like they say that so much. They're like, so many artists just blow their advance, blah, blah. And I think luckily I only did it for about a month. Like I didn't go crazy, but I was like, I'm just like, whatever, I'm just going to have fun and see what happens. And that was when I started writing K-pop. So like my publishers were like, you can't do nothing. Like you need to go into sessions. I was like, yeah. And I love the studio. Like if I could be in the studio every single minute of every day, I would. And I kind of am. But I didn't want to stop writing. So I did a lot of K-pop writing and writing for other artists and pitch sessions. Was enjoying it, but it wasn't like fulfilling me like my artist project was. And I think it kind of came from writing the K-pop stuff and being able to say what you want, because I mean they translate half of it anyway when you send it off. So I was like, I can say what I want. And also the people that I listen to, like I listen to like loads of Kim Petras, Charlie Slater, like all of that stuff is so free. You can say what you want, and it's just about being like kind of empowered as a woman, but also just like in a dumb way, it's literally just like slut pop. Like you can say what you fucking want. And it's, I think for me, that's, even with my first single, Word Vomit, it was like, I'm saying what I want to say. It was just in a different way, maybe in a more PG way. But yeah, I think it came like from that, writing the K-pop.
Yeah.
The space I was in as well, like going to these gay clubs every night, spending all my time in heaven and freedom and being surrounded by that, like, you know, that scene. It's who I am as a person anyway, so it just came super easily to me, and I started writing all of that stuff. I met loads of producers and writers really quickly that I really clicked with, and they became like my core team, and then now we're here. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing. So tell me about Moist then, like as a track.
I love hearing men say that. And whenever my managers say Moist, they're like, Moist. Moist came about because I was in the studio with Gil and Elle, who are like my main collaborators.
Sure.
And Elle was like, we've done all of this kind of pop stuff, and like it was cute pop, and I wasn't feeling that angst that I did with the old stuff. And I was like, I just want to write something that's just like, it's almost funny, but like it's serious, but not like people are going to be offended, and also like people are not going to understand it, and it's probably going to be a risk. And we were like, what's like the most upsetting word for like maybe like a straight white man to hear? And we were like, moist. We actually started writing it about baking a cake, and then it turned...
I saw this. I wanted to ask about it.
Yeah, it started like that, and then it was obviously like, you know, about anything you want it to be.
Right.
But yeah, so that's how we kind of came up with the concept.
So the cake baking thing, that is real. That's actually a thing.
I mean, it was at the start, and then things developed as it went on. I think the session was only like 4 hours maybe, and Gil, the producer, is just so amazing. He's like, he just gets it. Like like I've never ever met a man, like a male producer, that gets it like he does. He understands all the references. Like he comes in his like Ariana Grande t-shirts. Like he just gets it. So it was easy for him to understand the type of production that I wanted on the track. But yeah.
Wow. You spoke about changing management at one point as well. What's that like? Because, you know, as somebody that's changed management before,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see if our experiences line up.
Yeah. It's like a breakup, isn't it? Did you have it like?
See, I could say some things that might get me into trouble, and you know, I'd say like a breakup.
Yeah.
But like, kind of like a clingy ex, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I get you. I mean, so my manager, I had him for a long time, since I was, well, not a long time, but in my lifespan, yeah.
Of course.
So from 16 to like 19, 20. And I think for me, it was super easy. Like when I left the label, it was also an easy thing for me to be like, oh, I'm also going to leave you as a manager. So it was kind of like a fresh start for me.
Are you self-managed now, or no? You haven't.
I have a manager now, but it came like really like organically because my managers are my publishers. So so I've been published by them since I was super young, too, maybe like 17. So I've known them for a long time, and they said to me, "Oh, I want to start like when they first started the publishing company, they were like, I want to start a publishing company." They knew my manager, I knew them. And I was like, yeah. And they actually let me name it. So I named it Manifest Music, and that's who I'm signed to now and managed by. Well, they were like, because I'm always talking about manifesting, and I'm always talking about reading books about manifestation. So I think, yeah, they let me kind of choose the name. But yeah, so I was published by them for a long time, and I still am. And then they were like, should we just manage you? Like, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
We're doing everything. Like, I spoke to them on a day-to-day basis. They understood my vision, and they were also people that stuck by me no matter what, because I think for everyone in music, it's this outdated thing of like, you can't change who you are, you can't dye your hair and call it a new era, which is exactly what I was doing. So I think they really stuck by me and like showed me what it was like to have people in the industry that really care about you. So I was like, of course you can manage me. So
and how important is that to have those people there? Because I feel like that's something we don't talk about a lot. Like managing an artist should be seen as a privilege, not as, oh, they're lucky to be managed by me. I think it's a privilege to manage an artist. You know?
Yeah. I think that's such a thing that no one talks about.
Yeah.
It's so true. Because I think, especially being young and like getting a manager, you're like, oh my God, like I owe everything to them. Like I'd be nothing without them. And it's like, actually, they would be nothing without you. You're the talent, you're the art, like you are the reason they have a job. And it's so easy to forget that, being surrounded by so many people and so many men with like loud opinions. It's so easy to forget why you're there. And like, it's almost like imposter syndrome. Like, yeah, it's hard. I had that a lot. I was always kind of giving credit to other people that weren't me. But now it's so nice to have the team that I do. They're so supportive, and they know how I like to work, and I know how they like to work, and they just back me. Like they're always just fighting for my corner, and yeah, it's a really like good relationship that I have with them now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've got the right team around you.
Yeah.
And I guess that's also a lesson in itself is, you know, some people, like, it might take them longer than others to find the right team and build that team up. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all trial and error, like everything in music. And especially the people around you, like it sounds so selfish, but I think I didn't learn this for a long time, but you do have to just kind of use people for what they have at the time and then like let it go. Like if it's someone that doesn't deserve to belong in your journey, then they don't. And like I think for a long time I felt like I had to like kind of give people favors, like maybe put out a song because I liked the person, I didn't want to stop working with them, or like even with management, like do certain things because I felt like I was, you know, like that, like you were saying, like they kind of didn't work for me, like the other way around. And then as I got older, I was like, no, this is about me, and it can be, and that's fine, and it's not being selfish, it's just being like okay with who you are and being an artist. And I think especially as a woman, it's so just like hard to be selfish because you're just seen as being a diva or hard to work with, but it's not, and it's okay to be selfish.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
I think that's a very refreshing take on a very difficult topic. So we got to talk about this new era extensively because I'm so excited. I've listened to quite a few tracks that I know are upcoming, what's your favorite that you're looking forward to coming out?
I don't. I'm trying to think of what I sent you because I feel like I write new songs every day and I feel like those are probably so old now, which is so bad. I should have given you the update. There's one called Nada. I don't know if you heard that one. I'm really, really, really excited for that one to come out. I feel like it's the perfect kind of balance of the pop stuff and also the kind of dance club stuff that I want to delve into. But yeah.
That's so fun. I love that one. Like,
Thanks.
I can't. I don't want to give too much away because I know people might not have heard it by
it's
this
okay.
point.
I'm so bad with that. I tease like everything on TikTok every day, so I'm not a gatekeeper.
Wow, that's dope. You have a really close relationship with your fans as well. You know, between I guess is it the Finsta that you have? You know, between that, you know, your SoundCloud, everything. Is that important to you? You know, building that reputation and relationship.
Yeah, so important. Like they're the people that listen to me and they're the people that care about my artistry, so it's like, why would I not have relationships with them? I think so many artists forget that, like, to actually build a relationship with these people, because they're the people that are going to have your back. They're the people that are going to come to your shows, be in the front row, buy your merch. And I mean, I love doing things for them, like the events and everything, and seeing them, and they're just so sweet. Like I love them, and they care about even like this transition through to this next era. I was super worried that they wouldn't understand it, or I would have loads of kind of young girls being like, this isn't what I signed up for, kind of thing. Like, what are you doing to yourself? But it was the complete opposite. And at the recent event, I was like, so my old era was very much like, I'm very into like color theory, and my last era was like, ooh,
when you say
red.
color theory, what do you mean?
It's so weird, but like I feel like it's a thing. That when you just attach a color to a project or a certain vibe. So last era was red, and like everything was red, and like every event I'd be like, we're red, and everyone was dyeing their hair red. This is like pink and like silver, this new era. And I said for the recent event, everyone wear pink, and I was thinking, these girls are going to be like, I fucking hate pink. Why the fuck? Like, because I used to be like that. Like, I was so, like, anti-pink, anti-everything girly, and now I've done a 360. So it's like, when I said wear pink, I was like, oh my God, I don't think they're gonna. But they all came in pink, and they all came with the vibe, and they just get it. And I think that's because they're more invested in me as a person, which is really nice. Obviously, the music is, like, so important to them too. But I think we have a relationship on a personal level. So that's why they're always there, and they're backing it, and they get it, which is so nice.
That's so fun. Oh
I know, it's so nice.
Honestly. What's been the most memorable moment that you've had then up until now, you know?
Memorable moment? Like out of everything
Out
ever?
of everything. Like, I'm treating this as Lozeak the artist, so from 16 to where we are now. What's been the most memorable moment?
I would say playing Latitude was so memorable for me, because I've been to that festival since I was like 5 years old, and my parents would take me and my sister in buggies, push us around. Like, it was like, instead of a family holiday, like that's where we would go, like, to that festival. So when I got to play it, I played like the Sunset Arena, which is literally like our favorite stage, and it was just such a nice moment for me as an artist. Like, it's probably not the biggest stage I've played, and probably isn't going to be the biggest, but it was so nice. It was like a family moment for me, and like my parents were like in the front row, all my family friends, all the people I grew up with. So I think, definitely that it was one of the best moments so far.
And, you know, upcoming, going forward, what are some of the bucket list moments that you want to achieve?
I really want to do another tour. I mean, I want to support a really fun artist.
Yeah. Who's a really fun artist? Put it out there. Shoot your shot.
I'd love to support Kim Petras. She's the dream. Like, she really is the dream. Also, big collabs. I want to do lots of. There may be some in the works.
Yeah.
This is exciting. Yeah, with like some artists that I really, really look up to. So I feel like with this project, because I was kind of already established, it's been way easier for me to kind of make these new connections in the space that I want to be in, which is lucky and fun. And it's like kind of had a super fast reaction. Like I feel like the old stuff took me a minute, but with this stuff, it's been like, okay, that's what she's doing. We got it. These are the people that want to be involved, which is so nice. So yeah, could be some fun things coming.
Fun things coming.
Yeah.
I mean, with you never quite know because you never quite know. So I'm wondering what those fun things could be, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Thanks.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this whilst I had you here. What do your parents think of Moist? What did they say?
Oh my God. I mean, when I first played it to my mum and dad, they were actually at the tattoo event. So I send my parents all my songs.
Yeah.
And recently I've kept a few to myself.
Okay.
When the lyrics get a bit crazier. And I played it to them for the first time at the tattoo event, and they loved it. My dad was
Really?
like, I don't listen to the lyrics anyway. I just listen to the beat. I was like, okay, Dad. I mean, they get it. I think, like, if you look back at old artists, like, they're just doing what they want to do, saying what they want to say, like Lady Gaga, like, all of that stuff. You can't take it as who I am as a person, really. I mean, there's some truths, there's some lies, but it's almost like I think they understand the difference between Lauren and Lozeak, and I mean, they know me the best out of everyone, and they love it. They listen to it. They have it on repeat. They share it. So, yeah, they're super supportive, which is good.
So dope.
Yeah.
That's almost all I think we got time for.
Cool.
I guess, like, if there's any more wisdom you wanted to impart, anything you wanted to share,
What wisdom have I got? I honestly think to like young artists that are just starting out, I think the main thing is just be yourself always. It doesn't matter what that looks like or what that sounds like. I think being yourself and being authentic is going to get you anywhere you want to be, and don't let anyone hold you back. Just be yourself and slay and be great.
For sure. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you for having me.